Welcome, everyone. We're really thrilled to have you here with us today for another deep dive.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
If you are a regular listener, we usually tackle sprawling research papers, massive historical texts, or highly dense technical documents.
Right. The really heavy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today, we are taking a completely different path. Our mission for this deep dive is to thoroughly explore a highly structured, distinctly minimalist piece of audio programming.
And I mean very minimalist.
Oh, incredibly. It comes to us from a platform known as the DFY Channel. The source material is hosted by a figure who introduces himself simply as Jack.
Just Jack.
Just Jack. And the text we're looking at is titled, rather unassumingly, Day 4 at the Office.
It is a massive departure from our usual subjects. I have to admit, when we first started reviewing the source material, its brevity was actually a little disorienting.
Yeah, jarring almost.
Right, because if you look at a transcript of Jack's audio, it is basically just a handful of very short declarative sentences. But as you spend time with the structure of this piece, you start to realize how much heavy lifting those few words are actually doing.
And the delivery is a huge part of that. If you listen to the original audio track, Jack speaks in this incredibly measured, male, calm voice.
Very deliberate.
Yes, deliberate.
Yeah.
It feels like the stability of the recording is dialed right into the sweet spot. Like if you imagine a hypothetical mixing board, the stability is locked in at exactly a 50 out of 100.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle, where there are zero vocal fluctuations or emotional spikes.
And the articulation is pristine.
Pristine. The clarity is easily an 80 or 90. And the speed is so methodical, it feels like it is running at exactly 0.85 times the speed of a normal conversation.
He's not just talking, he's building a pedagogical machine.
Yes. And we're going to take that machine apart piece by piece so you can see exactly how it functions, because it serves as both a language tool and a bizarrely accurate blueprint of modern white-collar life.
The precision is really the defining characteristic here. Every single syllable in this program feels intensely intentional.
Nothing is wasted.
No, it is a highly curated linguistic environment. There's no fluff, no wasted breath at all.
Okay, let's unpack this. The text begins with a very polite standard greeting. He says, "Hello, everyone. This is Jack. Welcome back to the DFY channel. Today we talk about at the office."
The perfect, clean intro.
Yeah. And immediately following that introduction, we enter the foundational phase of Jack's text, a section he specifically labels warm-up words.
This part is crucial.
It is. Jack provides 5, and only 5, specific words to set the stage for you. They are office, computer, email, meeting, work.
And notice what he does next. He deliberately repeats this exact sequence twice before moving forward. He says, office, computer, email, meeting, work, and then he explicitly issues the command, repeat, and goes right back through the sequence again.
So is that just standard language repetition, or is there a specific mechanical reason he isolates just those 5 words? Because it seems almost too sparse.
Well, it might look like standard rote memorization on the surface, but what's fascinating here is how Jack is actively setting up the mental architecture for the listener.
A mental architect.
Exactly. Think about the sensory overload of a real-life morning at the office for a second.
Oh, it's chaotic.
It is. You have ringing phones, you have an overflowing physical inbox, office politics, buzzing fluorescent lights, the smell of burnt coffee in the break room.
Whatever podcast you were just listening to on your commute.
Right. But by stripping the workday down to these 5 elemental nouns and verbs, the text creates this incredibly clean, completely distraction-free environment for the narrative that is about to follow.
It is the cognitive equivalent of clearing everything off your desk before you sit down to start a major project.
That's a great way to put it.
You're tossing out the sticky notes, moving the empty mugs, and just leaving the bare essentials in front of you.
That is the exact psychological mechanism at play. He is establishing the strict boundaries of this specific universe.
Well,
these aren't just vocabulary words. They are the load-bearing pillars of the white-collar experience he's about to describe. By repeating them twice and making the listener repeat them, he forces you to anchor yourself in these specific concepts.
you can't get distracted by your own actual job.
Right. You cannot get distracted by the complexities or the anxieties of your real-world job, because in Jack's universe, only these 5 things exist right now. Office, computer, email, meeting, work.
It is almost meditative when you look at it that way.
Okay.
And once that austere foundation is firmly established, we move into the next section, which Jack simply titles Story.
The narrative phase.
Yes. And the chronological narrative here is paced so beautifully. It starts with a very specific timestamp of arrival. He says, I arrive at the office, it is 9 o'clock.
Which immediately grounds the listener in a universally recognized corporate reality.
The classic 9 to 5.
Exactly. 9 o'clock is the quintessential start of the traditional workday. It signals that we have officially crossed the threshold from personal time into professional time.
From there, Jack focuses intensely on the physical actions of the worker and their initial interaction with technology.
The mechanics of starting the day.
Right. The next lines are, I sit at my desk, I turn on my computer, the screen lights up. And I have to say, when I first read that sequence, it felt remarkably cinematic.
Cinematic in what sense? Like a movie opening?
Yeah, well, think about sitting in a dark theater, waiting for a play to begin.
Okay.
There's that moment of anticipation, and then suddenly a single spotlight hits the center of the stage.
I see.
That feels like what Jack is doing with the line. The screen lights up. That illuminated rectangle is the stage where the entire modern work experience is going to play out.
That's a beautiful analogy.
The screen lighting up is the visual cue, the spotlight turning on, signaling the true beginning of the action.
That makes a lot of sense, especially considering what happens the moment that stage is lit. Because right after the screen lights up, the first act of the modern workday begins.
The inbox.
Yes, the first act is inevitably the inbox.
The dreaded, chaotic inbox. We all know that feeling of opening your email and just bracing for impact.
We do, but look at how Jack dissects this sequence. He notes checking his email first. He says, first, I check my email, I read new messages, and then he categorizes these messages with a stark, almost beautiful simplicity.
Yes. He says, some emails are short, some emails are long. And then I write replies.
It's so matter of fact.
It really is. But notice what he completely leaves out. He doesn't say some emails could have been a brief chat, or some emails are incredibly passive-aggressive.
Or some emails are going to completely derail my afternoon.
Exactly.
Which is exactly why this text functions as such a brilliant piece of instructional design. In our actual lives, checking email can be a source of immense psychological weight.
Oh, absolutely.
Is this message for my boss? Is this an urgent client request? But Jack's impartial reporting completely neutralizes the typical stress of a real inbox.
It totally defangs it.
He reduces the entire ecosystem of corporate correspondence to physical dimensions, short and long.
It is almost funny how deeply soothing that is. Just short ones and long ones.
It is soothing because the emotional weight of the work is completely removed. By categorizing them strictly by length, the narrative focuses purely on the mechanics of the task.
Right, you're just processing.
You read a message, you observe its physical length on the screen, you write a reply. It strips away all the corporate anxiety and leaves only the functional behavior of a worker interfacing with a machine.
I genuinely wish my own inbox felt that manageable. Just handling the short ones and the long ones and moving on.
We all do.
And once the emails are handled, the day progresses. Here's where it gets really interesting, because we transition into the meeting phase.
The dreaded meeting.
Jack says, after that, I have a meeting. Now, the narrative actually shifts physically. We are no longer just looking at the illuminated screen. He says, my coworkers sit at a table.
He brings in other human beings for the very first time.
Yeah.
The universe expands from the solitary worker at the growing screen to a collective group in a shared physical space.
And Jack introduces this three-step collaborative process that is just, well, it is almost utopian. He outlines the meeting like this. We talk about work, we share ideas, we make plans.
If you analyze those 3 sentences, you realize how perfectly distilled they are. It is the platonic ideal of a corporate meeting.
The platonic ideal. But let's contrast that with reality for a second. What does a real meeting look like?
Someone can't get the projector to connect.
Right. Or 2 people spend 20 minutes circling back on a topic that has nothing to do with the agenda.
Someone else is just repeating buzzwords like synergy and bandwidth.
Exactly. The stated goal of any business meeting is to discuss the tasks at hand, brainstorm solutions, and agree on next steps.
And Jack captures this flawlessly. Talk about work, share ideas, make plans. It is completely devoid of the friction of actual human collaboration.
No friction at all.
There are no off-topic tangents, no arguments over budget, no one talking over anyone else. It is pure, frictionless, unadulterated productivity.
And crucially, it doesn't drag on for an hour and a half while everyone secretly checks the clock on their phones.
No, it is not.
Jack gives us a very clean, incredibly satisfying resolution. He says, soon the meeting ends.
Those might be the most comforting 4 words anyone can hear in a corporate setting. Soon the meeting ends.
It's the ultimate fantasy. Soon the meeting ends. I go back to my desk. I continue my work. The loop of the mid-morning is closed, and we return right back to where we started.
The solitary worker at the desk.
Right, continuing the task. That brings us to the end of the story section. But Jack's audio program is actually far from over at this point.
Not at all.
This is the moment where the script transitions from a descriptive narrative into active instruction. We move into the subsequent sections, starting with a segment he calls Repeat After Me.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this transition reveals the pedagogical brilliance of Jack's structure. Well, up until this exact moment, the listener has been largely passive. You have been absorbing the vocabulary, enjoying the sterile, stress-free chronological narrative of the arrival, the incredibly simple emails, and the perfect meeting.
Just taking it all in.
Right, but true retention, especially in language learning, requires action. The listener cannot just passively consume the story anymore. They are now asked to step into the environment and actively participate.
Jack explicitly isolates specific phrases from the story for the listener to repeat out loud. And what is so vital to the design here is that he builds the necessary pauses directly into the script.
He gives you space.
Yes, the source text literally says pause in parentheses after each line. He gives the listener the exact amount of temporal space needed to verbalize the action before moving on to the next one.
Let's look closely at the specific phrases he selects for this active repetition, because what he chooses to include and exclude is very telling.
Okay, let's run through them. He isolates these exact moments. I sit at my desk, pause. I check my email, pause. I have a meeting, pause. We talk about work, pause. I continue my work.
Now notice what is missing from that list.
A lot of the color.
Exactly. He doesn't ask the listener to repeat the specific time of 9 o'clock. He doesn't ask them to repeat the cinematic detail of the screen lighting up. He leaves out the fact that the emails are short or long, or that the coworkers are sitting at a physical table.
He strips away all the descriptive adjectives and the scene-setting details entirely.
Precisely. He is forcing the listener to vocalize only the core verbs, the fundamental actions themselves. Sitting, checking, having, talking, continuing.
It is like he is making you practice the raw mechanics of the workday. You're literally speaking your job into existence.
That's exactly what it is.
You aren't just learning the words, you are building the muscle memory for the routine itself.
Right, the verbal muscle memory.
And once you have verbally repeated those core actions, Jack immediately moves the listener into the next phase, which he titles Listening Again.
And this section acts as a highly compressed summary of the entire day we just experienced.
It is remarkably shorter than the original story section. Let me read it exactly as Jack presents it in this Listening Again segment.
Go for it.
He says, I arrive at the office, I turn on my computer, I check my email, then I have a meeting. After the meeting, I continue my work.
You have to consider why Jack does this. By this point in the program, he trusts that the listener understands the broader context.
He trusts his own teaching.
Right. He no longer needs to explain that the computer screen lights up because you already have that image in your head. He doesn't need to explain the 3-step collaborative process inside the meeting.
He aggressively trims the fat.
What is left is the absolute core sequence, a perfectly streamlined timeline of the modern worker. Arrive, turn on computer, check email, meeting, continue work. It is the skeleton of the workday, completely exposed.
It's amazing how much faster the day feels in that compressed format.
Yeah.
It really highlights the repetitive nature of what we do.
It does.
And having listened to the story, and then verbally repeated the actions out loud, and then listened to the compressed skeletal summary, Jack brings the listener to the final interactive phase, the comprehension check. Or, as Jack titles it in his wonderfully minimalist way, mini questions.
This is the final test of the mental architecture he began building with those 5 warm-up words at the very beginning of the program.
Let me outline exactly how this comprehension check works, because it is so swift. Jack asks 2 incredibly direct questions, followed immediately by the correct answers.
2 questions.
Just 2. First, what do I check? Email. And second, who do I meet? Coworkers.
It's completely binary. It is definitive. There is 0 ambiguity in those questions.
None at all. You either know it or you don't. And then, after those 2 quick questions, Jack delivers a piece of positive reinforcement. 2 simple words. Good job.
Good job.
He validates the listener's journey through this highly structured loop. Honestly, hearing that validation feels surprisingly weighty, so what does this all mean?
That's the real question.
We have this tiny piece of text, this short, meticulously paced audio file from the DFY channel, and yet it feels like it encompasses so much about how we process information and how we view our daily professional responsibilities.
This raises an important question about the nature of communication and routine itself. Jack's text is not merely a language lesson. It actually acts as a mirror.
A mirror for the worker.
Exactly. Think about the meticulous looping structure we just unpacked together. We started with the warm-up, establishing the raw vocabulary. We moved into the story, establishing the chronological narrative.
Then the active repetition.
Right, vocalizing the steps. From there, we listened to the condensed, summarized version, and finally, we were quizzed on our comprehension. That highly structured, repetitive loop of the lesson directly mirrors the repetitive, structured nature of the office work it is describing.
Oh, wow. That is a fascinating parallel. The structure of the lesson is actually reflecting the reality of the subject matter.
Exactly. Think about your own week. You sit at your desk, you check your email, you have a meeting, you continue your work.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
You do that loop on Monday,
Yeah.
and then you wake up and do the exact same loop on Tuesday. The workday itself is a closed circuit. Jack's pedagogical methodology is also a closed circuit.
That is brilliant.
He is teaching the concept of the office by utilizing the exact rhythmic, predictable framework that defines the office. The routine of the lesson is the routine of the job.
It makes you realize that true instructional design doesn't just pass along vocabulary, it actually simulates the environment of the thing you are trying to comprehend.
Simulates it perfectly.
Jack isn't just telling you about the office. He is putting you through the cognitive paces of being a modern worker, but he does it in a totally safe, stress-free sandbox.
Which is why that good job at the very end feels so earned, and perhaps why you felt it carried so much weight. In the real corporate world, do we often get told good job simply for checking our short and long emails and attending a meeting where we talk about work?
Rarely. Very rarely.
But Jack gives the worker the validation the real world often withholds. You haven't just memorized some vocabulary, you have successfully navigated the entire cyclical journey of the white-collar worker, and you have come out the other side with perfect comprehension.
Which brings us to the end of our journey today. Let's take a moment to summarize what we've discovered in this deep dive.
It's been quite a ride.
It really has. For you, the listener, we took a brief, seemingly simple text from Jack on the DFY channel, a script titled Day 4 at the Office. On the surface, it looked like nothing more than a basic outline for language learners.
Deceptively simple.
But as we dug in, we revealed a complex, brilliantly layered approach to teaching and reinforcing information that doubles as a commentary on corporate existence.
Jack's script successfully distills the entire modern work experience into a functional, step-by-step loop. It is a piece of programming that aggressively prioritizes clarity over nuance.
It demands active participation.
Right, through repetition. And it guarantees memory retention without ever overwhelming the audience with unnecessary jargon, office politics, or emotional weight. It takes the chaos of Monday through Friday and turns it into a perfectly predictable system.
And just as the workday has a predictable end, so does Jack's program. The text concludes with a highly predictable, incredibly comforting sign-off. Jack says, "Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode," here on the DFY channel.
It promises continuity.
It does. The workday ends, the screen turns off, but there will be a tomorrow. There will be a next episode.
It provides absolute closure for the current cycle, but also gently sets the expectation for the loop to begin all over again.
Which is the reality of the office, isn't it? Now, before we let you go, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder on your own after this deep dive concludes.
Something to take away.
We've spent all this time analyzing how Jack created a pristine, distraction-free version of the workday. I want you to look at your own life. If an outside observer were to strip away all the stress, the complex jargon, the overflowing inboxes, and the unpredictable chaos of your own daily life, could your entire existence be summarized as elegantly and functionally as Jack's Day 4 script?
That's a great question.
If you had to define your own daily routine right now, what would your 5 warm-up words be?
That is a deeply introspective question to walk away with. It really forces you to consider what is actually essential in your day.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Jack's minimalist world on the DFY channel. We loved exploring the hidden depths of this structured routine with you, and we can't wait to jump into our next topic. Keep questioning the routines around you, keep learning, and we will catch you next time.